Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the channel. This is my analysis of the interrogation video dated 26th of the 10th, 2022 between Mr. Richard Allen and Mr. Jerry Holeman. Tonight I will be touching on quite a few things, and this will be a multiple part set. So, without any further ado, we're going to go straight into what I have specifically noticed, and I will be delivering my own opinions and thoughts as I go along, utilising the timestamps that I notice things. From the outset, Mr. Holeman did not read Mr. Allen the Miranda rights, as should be done by constitutional law in any interview or indeed situation. Now, contrary to what Mr. Holeman said, or may have said about there may have been a technical fault, because it doesn't show it in the video initially. Now, the first thing that any investigative officer or indeed police officer should do is check that the equipment is working. That was a slight little mistake there. Now, at timestamp 2:54 in the video, Holeman appears to be having some kind of problem with his respiratory system, like his nose. He sniffles and he wipes it like this. Now, based on the fact that in a room such as that, there is only 1 meter width, the camera view does not give a clear picture of anywhere else apart from concentrating on where Mr. Allen is sat, the seat next to him, the bin in the far left corner, and a good number of the desk and equipment on the desk. Also, the only thing that we see in this video is the back of Mr. Holeman's head, his shoulders, and his back. Not once does he actually face up to the camera at any time. Now, in my experience, a camera should have been set up so it shows all parties concerned to ensure fairness and equality, to make sure that there is nothing untoward. So, let's move on. At 04:30, Rick stated that he went out for a short walk. Hence, that's why he didn't take his weapon out with him. That's a pretty fair enough assessment by any means. I mean, a person can go out on a short walk if they wish to, and they don't need to be armed. That was non-deceptive. He was not lying. At timestamp 05:47, when Holeman is plainly saying that the round in that firearm matched exactly the same as Rick's. The look on Rick's face is one of just pure disbelief and incredulity. He's like, what are you on about? No, I have no idea. Look, there's no way. Again, non-deceptive, because the look on Mr. Allen's face. At 7:02 in the timestamps, when Holeman says that he was concerned about something that Rick said whilst the search warrant was being executed or just after, Rick said the damage has been done. Well, needless to say, when somebody is living in such a small town where everyone knows everyone, now they've been known up to that point to have a pretty decent amount of respect, a pretty decent reputation. This reputation is now tarnished, quite possibly forever. You as a neighbour living next door to Mr. Allen, or indeed anywhere else in that immediate vicinity, you'd immediately think, why are the police taking out all the stuff from Mr. Allen's house? Now, what Rick says in this interview is he's trying to clarify why he said what he said. It is not an incriminating statement, however. The damage has been done, and you've started something that there is no backing out of. That is the truth of it. Notice he also inflected of the fact that he believes that the police have started something that there's no backing out of. This is a very true statement. At 0708 on the timestamps, it appeared to be a slightly deceptive remark made by Mr. Holeman as to things like, oh, we've got witnesses, we've seen the video. To this he may be referring to the Bridge Guy video. Not entirely too sure on this one, but we can let that one slide for a minute. He's also contradicted himself as to regarding the tests. When he says, oh, we have a warrant for your DNA. This is considered standard procedure. But it also means that they're quite happy and willing to arrest you, based off on the fact that because Mr. Holeman did not read Mr. Allen his Miranda rights, at that point Mr. Allen could have said, do you know what? No, I have nothing further to say to you. And because of the lack of Miranda rights, he was perfectly free to get up and walk out of the room quite calmly. Also notice Mr. Allen's body stance, his body language. From the word get-go, he appears quite relaxed, quite calm, hands clasped down here, and he's being very attentive to what Mr. Holeman is saying. Now, at 0:27, no, sorry, just got that. My apologies. At 08:17, the round that we found is your round. Really? How do you know that, Mr. Holeman? That's a very, very dangerous claim to make, sir. Okay? It takes a long time for any kind of, indeed, ballistics or otherwise to be conducted. This is where it gets funny. In Mr. Allen's trial, the only thing that led to any sort of conviction or otherwise was that round, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Allen also says, I don't know how it got there. Again, not lying, non-deceptive. At 08:45 on the timestamps in the interrogation video, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Holeman seems to have prior knowledge of the media's intent towards Mr. Allen. They're going to make you a monster. Please note the wording there. It basically means you're about to get absolutely annihilated. Your name and everything else is about to get dragged through the mud. That implies threat. Mr. Allen's reputation was already tarnished. This is just another wound. What he should have said was, if it is proven wrong, that we've got the wrong man, we'll make a statement claiming as such. It's not too much to ask for. And I'm pretty sure it would have been done. At 08:55, in response to what appears to be a sort of question by Mr. Holeman, Mr. Allen says, I care about what other people think of me. I've had anxiety for years. Again, non-deceptive. Now, this next bit, I'm sorry, but even I found a little bit amusing had it not been so serious. Oh, sorry. My apologies. Let me go back. At 08:07, based upon Mr. Holeman's questioning, yes, done by Mr. Allen. This is open body language. It basically means, look, I don't have a clue what you're saying, sir. I really don't. I can't explain this. He is not being deceptive, because if he was being deceptive at any point, he would have covered his face or otherwise. Now, at 09:25 on the timestamps, I'm very sorry about giving a slight chuckle here, ladies and gentlemen, but Mr. Holeman paraphrased Martin Luther King by saying, the truth will set you free. What can I say? Did that happen? No. Mr. Allen was telling them the truth. At 09:36, it appears that Mr. Holeman is starting to get a little bit agitated by this point. This is where the first of the cracks start to show in his demeanour. He leans forward and says, you're going down for this, in an insinuating manner. This means he is determined to try and goad Rick or provoke Rick into saying something stupid. Rick's response is, look, whoa, mate, don't. At 09:40, this is when Mr. Holeman says you're going down with this. My apologies. I got that one slightly mixed up. It's very difficult to see without my glasses. At 0940, that's where the actual railroading starts to occur. Because that's when Mr. Holeman is trying to goad, provoke Rick into saying stupid. This is not done in most cases. If you are interviewing somebody, whether it's in an investigation or indeed otherwise, you try to keep things level. You try to keep things calm as much as possible. Okay? Not the best idea to do that. At 11:27, Mr. Holeman is still talking about the subject of the rounds, the firearms. And Rick actually says, in response, there is no way a round from my gun was even there. Bearing in mind that Rick is an ex-military man, he would know exactly where every single round was done. Okay? He knows this automatically. Again, non-deceptive. Right. Oh, you little... I hate that. Alright, here we go. I'm going to pause it there for a second. At 12:31 in the video, I noticed a more or less direct accusation by Mr. Holeman. One thing you don't do is direct accusations without first hearing what your suspect or otherwise is having to say. At 12:47, Rick's face and his body language indicates, I'm completely baffled here. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? Like this, open-handed. What do you want me to say? There you go. At 12:54, when Holeman is not even letting Rick having a word in edgeways here, he says, anyone who knows me knows full well I would never or could never do this to those two little girls. Again, no deception. That's a fair statement. And he's also starting to get a little bit agitated. Slight raising of the voice alongside the open-handed body language. Yep, he's starting to get a little bit agitated now. At 13:27, there appears to be a slightly... it's almost... He's trying to be... he's trying to pacify the situation of the previous timestamp. Mr. Holeman is. He says, I'm being so nice to you. To me, that says, I'm being nice, but if I wanted to, I could really mess you up. That also implies a threat. You don't say things like that. You try a different tack, maybe. Okay? You could have turned around and said, right, we'll leave that question for a second. And we'll come back to it another time. It's quite easy. So one thing I always learned is you can always say the same question a few minutes later, but a slightly different context or slightly different wording. It's really quite easy to do. At 14:38 in the video, Rick cannot understand why or how an unspent round that apparently, according to Holeman, says is his, ended up there in the first place. On the murder site. He looks completely baffled by this point. To be honest with you, I don't blame him. I'll be like, how the hell did I even get there? This is the most damning part. At 14:47, Mr. Holeman says to Rick, you do realise the death penalty is on the table for this. And Rick's response at 14:54 is, do you know what? I don't care now. The damage is done. Yep, I don't care about living anymore. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, I've been dealing with this for the last 8 to 7 years. And at 15:04, he says, you know what? If you're going to do this, if you're going to kill me, then that's fine. You'll make my wife a very rich woman. That was a statement of fact. Now, I'm going to cut it off here because, as I said, this is a multi-parter. And this sort of thing takes time. So, there will be more to follow. But I would like you all to go away and think to yourselves. I would like you to think, to allow your thought processes to gather this piece of information, and watch that video again and again and again as much as you need to. And please feel free to drop a comment in the below if you think I've missed out on anything. I hope you have all a good weekend and a good week. And to the Americans, happy Thanksgiving, guys. Have a good one. Take care.